For any other team, this is a crazy game, but for Connacht, it's just another weekend. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. This game was absolutely nuts, but if you're a Connacht fan, you might be used to it, but it doesn't stop them breaking your heart on occasions like this. We knew, I said it before in the preview as well, it's probably how the game was going to go, because Connacht do not do anything the easy way, whether it's winning or losing. So let's go through what happened in the game. So starting off, early penalty for Connacht. Racing are offside. They decide to go to corner. They win another penalty to Maul. They decide to tap it. Janssen goes for the line, recycle, and then Bundyaki goes over. We have a TMO check to see if he got it down. No doubt on the replay, converted for 7 points to nil. Connacht then running the ball in their own half. They knock on and Racing go through some phases before Ben Lancaster puts a nicely weighted kick in behind. Naitubi gets their first score. Conversion is missed, 7 points to 5. Connacht then smashed their way back into 20 through Aki. Hansen carries well and goes close, recycling, and Keane Prendergast goes over to score, converted for 14 points to 5. Bamba then carrying well as Racing get on the front foot in the Connacht half, but Janssen gets over the ball to win a penalty. Then Connacht back into 22. Josh Murphy picks a great line and smashes through the line. Then it goes wide for Finn Tracy, who's put into touch. You have a team out check though for a head-on-head contact. And Christoph Ridley decides it's a high hit, high degree of danger, no mitigation, red card for Naitubi, and penalty try, 21 points to 5. And that was pretty much the height of Connacht's evening. Then Josh Ioane comes on for Tracy, who's off for an HIA, but he then has to go off injured himself. Looks like an arm and shoulder injury. Connacht with a lot of injuries in the backs tonight. Racing then win a scrum penalty and they go to the corner. Then they go to the Maul and the power just comes through. Over they go. Escobar is the scorer. Conversion missed, 21 points to 10. Connacht then go close again. Hurley Langton sparking that off. And Aki knocks on as he looks to go over. Racing then score on the break. Ben Lancaster with a clever kick upfield. Hansen looks to have it covered, but lets it bounce, and the bounce beats him. Then Legaric pokes it through and gets there to dive on it to score, converted for 21 points to 17. And just thinking at that stage, typical Connacht, the Racing go a man down, and Connacht, it's Connacht that go to pieces. Connacht then back into 22 to go wide right, nothing on, so they go infield and then back right again, and they're sucked into defence now. So Prendergast over to score, converted by Hanrahan from out wide, 28 points to 17. Then we have a great pass by, in the build-up there was a great pass by Cahill Ford as well to find Prendergast to go over. Then Racing just jog them all from around about halfway into 22. They break off and Legaric almost gets over, only for a timely tap tackle. Back we come for a penalty. Then they go to the corner, and unsurprisingly, the Maul drives over. Tuisova, centre coming in to lend his way. He actually ends up to the ball. He's the scorer, converted for 28 points to 24, half time, and it's been all Racing pretty much since the red card. Racing then win an early penalty as Connacht don't roll away. Lancaster makes it 28-17, or 27, a 1 point game. Connacht now with 2 9s on the field because of those injuries. Devine has to come on. Hansen then pinged for holding on as Joseph gets over the ball. Lancaster's kick from just inside the half drops short. So, Connacht hanging on, but they really need to offer something at the other end because, Racing are doing so well, keep making it a tight game, using the power game, and Connacht are not exploiting the fact that they have an extra man. They're not making those big forwards harassing, kind of run around the field, and they're really playing into Racing's hand. Like, nobody's taking the the rudder to guide them at all. And then Owen Farrell comes on for Racing as well, so not a good thing for Connacht there. Then Racing used the power again. Bamba with a massive carry into 22. Offload. It comes off Legaric's knee, and then he wins the race to dot it down. Converted for 34-28. Racing are in the front for the first time in the game. Then they managed to turn Connacht over into 22, and then they kicked downfield into the Connacht 22 then, and then charged down at attempted clearance and just piling more pressure in that Connacht 22. They go back then to Owen Farrell, who drops a goal, just about sneaks in off the post, 37-28. But again, Racing are the ones that are keeping that scoreboard ticking over. That's what you do in knockout rugby. Connacht, completely fallen apart against 14 men, as Racing really have stepped up. Then they concede another penalty, and Legaric pops it over for 40 points to 28. Connacht, the restart doesn't go 10, but Bamba tries to play it, knocks on. A little glimmer of hope for Connacht because they have a position in the opposition half from a scrum, but that comes to nothing. Racing then win a penalty at the line out, and they point to the post again. Legaric tries to tap and go, but he's called back because his shot clock has already started, so he's used up a lot of his time. Still slots it though, so fair play to him, and that was 43 points to 28. They then win a scrum penalty, but that one is missed to the left of the post, and that would have sealed the victory for them, I feel, at that point. Paul Boyle then goes rampaging up to halfway from the back of his scrum of zone 22, and it just hasn't been enough of that, in terms of go forward for Connacht in the second half. It's been all defending, and you swear that they were the team that were down to 14. Then Captain Keane Prendergast goes for a kick, kicks it out in the full, and it kind of summed up Connacht's performance, really. He was fantastic in the first half, but errors in this half, like the rest of his team. Boyle then, off the back of another scrum, makes ground. Then Ben Murphy snipes, dummy, steps, and then goes over to score. The conversion is missed, so it's 43 points to 33. And then Connacht give away a penalty at the restart, and just a little glimmer, that they had, it felt like it was immediately extinguished. But Racing decided to go to the corner rather than kicking for the post, and Connacht managed to sack them all and turn the ball over. Then they try running out of their own 22. Hansen though gets caught. Racing counter ruck. They've won turnover scrum, but we have a TMO check for foul play. It's a tucked arm by Owen Farrell as he launches himself in to clear the ruck, so he gets a yellow card and he's off. So now, playing against 13 men with 3 minutes, Connacht need to score 10 points. Paul Boyle then rampages down the left into the 22, offloads to Ford, and he scores, converted for 43 points to 40. We've basically got less than a minute to go. Connacht, they need to secure the restart and get themselves back with the field, but they get the restart and immediately knock the ball on. Racing get the ball in and out of scrum, and time is gone, so off it goes. That's the win, 43 points to 40 full time. You have to give full credit to Racing for that win. Connacht did not manage the game in terms of, playing against 14 or 13 players, but Racing absolutely stepped up. They knew what to do. They came together as a team. They went to their power game. Connacht didn't have an answer, and they just kept that scoreboard ticking. And, Connacht late surge, but it was just too much, for them to come back on. Too little too late from them. So let's have a look at the stats, and then we talk about the teams a little bit more. Okay, so let me pull them up here. Okay, so first off, 6 tries to 5, just a regular Connacht game, as I said. it's crazy, like how things go for them. Then meters made 421 to 251 in favour of Connacht. Carries 135 to 107. So Connacht averaging around about just over 3 meters a carry, and then 2.5 for Racing. Clean breaks 8 to 3. 26 defenders beaten to 21. But again, Connacht, more clean breaks, more defenders beaten, but they couldn't get those, those positions in the second half was the problem, and it didn't score enough points in the first half. Offload 7 to 8, passes then 163 to 92, and this is a massive, tell here. Possession 44% for the home team, that 15 the whole time, and then Racing with 56% possession with 14 men. That tells you how tight they kept it and how difficult it was for Connacht to get the ball back off them. And the same with territory, 48% for Connacht, 52% for Racing, because Racing absolutely bossed that second half, spent most of it in the Connacht half. Onto defence then, 145 tackles made to 88. Tackle success 82% for Connacht is decent, but it wasn't the tackling that was the problem. Like, they were tackling the guys, but they were still going forward. Those big men from Racing, 72% for Racing. And Connacht needed to exploit that a little bit more. Turnovers 4 for Connacht, 8 for Racing. Again, just shows Racing were the ones who were stifling the Connacht attacks, turning them over at crucial times as well. Onto set piece then, lineouts, 10 successful for Connacht, 14 for Racing, 91% for Connacht. You always expect them to have a decent lineout, 82% for Racing. And I thought, Connacht didn't put pressure, like Racing with very little pressure on them, only 82%. Connacht, anytime that Racing, they knew Racing were going to the maul, they decided that they were going to try and stay down, get ready to counter it, and for the most part it didn't work. Like, Racing still made the meters. For me, if I have that Connacht line out, like probably the best defensive line out in the whole of the URC, and certainly one of the best defensive lineouts in the whole of Europe, and they're not putting men up on the Racing throw. I don't get it. Like, get your guys up, disrupt. You make a difficult ball for them. You win an odd one against the head as well, right? Maybe you're not set for the mauls, but you didn't do anything when you were set for the mauls anyway. They just drove through you. When they saw the power that was there, I don't know why nobody decided we're going up in like against their line out, because if they had done that, I don't think Racing would have scored or gotten in as many good positions as they did off their maul. Then scrums, 4-1 for Connacht, 5 for Racing, 100% each. But I'd say Racing had the nudge on the scrum, certainly. Kicks from hand then, 15 for Connacht and 26 for Racing. Again, showing the smarts against this Connacht team. Like, Connacht kicking for 398 meters and Racing 704. So that's the difference. Connacht were putting up contestable kicks. Racing were kicking long for the most part, but mixed with some contestables as well to keep Connacht honest. And Connacht, they were playing against a team that had a man down in the backfield for most of the game, and they weren't kicking into that space. They weren't exploiting the space, moving them around, forcing them to drop another guy back, to cover those kicks, and then opening up space for Connacht to exploit it, in the line. Nobody was thinking about these kind of things on the field, and that's one of the problems I think with this Connacht team is I think Prendergast is a very good captain, but in terms of tacticians, they don't seem to have anyone on the field, like JJ Handran included, who can really work a team around the field. And that's what they needed. Like, their running game is brilliant. It's exciting, but you have to couple that with, a player, a 10 or 9 or whichever it is, that sees space and realizes that you need to mix your game up. You need to have a kicking game to, to again, drop those players out of the line, then make the space for you to run through. You can't just keep carrying into brick walls, which was what they were doing for a lot of the second half, especially in their own 22 where it didn't work out for them. But again, Racing, you look at them, they were a man down, 2 men down for a period, and they were kicking. They knew that Mac Hansen was carrying an injury, and they kept turning him. They kept exploiting it, and they were kicking into space where there was an injured guy who had at least had a chance to get there to the ball. Connacht had space there where there was nobody, and they weren't kicking into it. So for me, it makes absolutely no sense. And again, this other stat, the next one, retained kicks. Connacht, the ones who are putting up the contestable kicks, retained 0 kicks. And then Racing, who mostly were kicking long, retained 8 kicks. Their chase was brilliant. It wasn't just the kicking, the chase going along with it as well. Everyone committed. They got a red card, but they said, no, that's not going to lose us this. We're still going to, give it everything. And they did. And deserved winners. Connacht, this, type of performance has, any Connacht fan will tell you, gone on not just this season, but for many, many seasons with this Connacht team. On to breakdown then, 57 rucks to 80, 1 ruck loss by Connacht. Ruck success, 92% to 96, so fairly standard numbers there. Then mauls, 1 maul for Connacht for 1 metre, 9 maul to Racing for 8 metres. Maul success, 100% to 89%. I don't believe the maul meters gained though, because Racing, if you watch the game, Racing took a maul from round about the halfway into the 22. So there's no way they only made 8 meters altogether. Like that 1 maul went about 20 odd meters. So, I don't know who puts these stats together, but I've said it in other games. I've never seen this stat for European games, being a team making more meters than they had mauls. There seems to be a ceiling, as in you had 9 mauls, you can only make a maximum of 9 meters. It makes absolutely no sense to me at all. And I've a feeling that the maul meters gained on this, the number that's in there might actually be just the number of successful mauls, because that would make sense for Racing. If they got 8 out of 9, that would give them an 89% success. And for Connacht, 1 out of 1 would give them 100% success. So I think maul meters gained is completely wrong on here. So somebody has mapped a number to the wrong thing. I'm almost certain of it at this stage. I've covered so many of these games and I've seen these numbers, and it makes sense if you look at it that way. And I'm sure I could go back through all the games this year and pretty much prove that if I wanted to. And I probably, if I had the time, I probably would. I'm that kind of person. But let's talk about some more things. So discipline, 11 penalties conceded to 9. Connacht, again, the team with more players, they should be putting the pressure on. They should be forcing the penalties from their opposition. They're the ones conceding the penalties. Lots of pressure from Racing, but also stupid, decisions and mistakes from them too, giving away penalties. And those penalties, being put over was basically the difference between the teams in the end tonight. Then 1 yellow card and 1 red card for Racing, but it made absolutely no difference because they were the better team. They were the better team. The only time they weren't the better team when it was 15 against 15. When it was 14 against 15, they're the better team. When it was 15 against 13, it was even between the teams. Connacht got a few points, but Racing, came up with the plays that actually won the game in the end. But let's talk about the team. So start with Connacht. This is the thing with Connacht, right? Genuinely, I thought that if they could get through this, that potentially they're going to win the trophy. because Racing, like you look at the teams that are left, you're looking at like Racing were like a big team dropping down from the Champions Cup, the only team with 2 wins in this year's Champions Cup that didn't make the round of 16. So they were like not necessarily a form team, but certainly a much better quality than any of the other teams that came down with them in terms of their performance in the pool stages. And then after that, then, if they'd won this, have another game at home in a semi-final, and then they're off to a final. And that final, potentially could be against somebody like Edinburgh, and then that would be crazy though, because you'd have the 2 most Jekyll and Hyde teams, I would say, in the URC playing each other. That game would end up probably like 70 points to 68 or something to either one of them, because these 2 teams are just crazy. But Connacht, it's a long time problem for them, is the fact that not just that they're inconsistent game to game, but they're inconsistent within every game as well. You very rarely see Connacht, actually control a game. And that's something that they're missing. They have the ability to score points in bursts, but they also have the ability to concede points in bursts. And they generally do both in every single game. So, they need something in that team to get them more consistent, because otherwise they're gonna be this type of team all the time where, they go on a good run and then a performance like this comes along. And if it's a knockout situation, you're gone. You don't get a second chance. If it's the league, you just keep going up and down into the playoffs, out of the playoffs, into the playoffs, out of the playoffs. And that's what we've seen from them over this season and over previous seasons as well. So I think something has to change. It's difficult for the province. They definitely are the poor man of Irish rugby, and they don't get the support that the other provinces do. But for me, like if I was head of the IRFU, I'd be looking at things. I'd be saying, okay, Connacht, like there's a core there that could be like a decent team, because again, like previous URC champions, or like the previous iteration of the URC at least. So there is potential there for this, this province to grow. New stadium coming on board as well soon. I'd be looking at that. I'd be thinking, okay, Ben Murphy's gone over there, from Leinster, where he didn't feel like he was going to get any game time, and he's done really well. Keane Prendergast did the same thing. Lots of other players have done the same thing as well. Let's identify more players in the Leinster system to shift over. And yes, if you're a Connacht guy, supporter, you want to see more local players, but it's one of these things where you look at the other provinces and their success has come on the back of a mix of local players and then players coming in, whether that's coming in from outside of the country or, from other provinces. It's always been the way. And I think that's what Connacht need. They need, to get 1 or 2, maybe more players in there that can really bring this team along. But also I think the coaches have to kind of get a hold of them and say, listen, we love the attacking intent, but we need a little bit of control. We need someone on the field to kind of be a bit more of a general for them, and they don't have that. On to Racing then. Fantastic win for them, especially when you think of Racing being so flaky in European competitions generally, because like they started really well in the Champions Cup, in the pool stages. They beat Harlequins well. They then went on, I think they won both of their home games and lost both of their away games, and then didn't make it through. And for the amount of talent and the amount of money that they have, they've never really delivered at Champions Cup level. And now in this one, in adversity, they just came together as a team, and they coped with that red card. They became the better team. They went to their strengths, and they didn't allow Connacht to use their strengths at all. And because Connacht weren't trying to turn things back in their way, as in, as I said, moving them around the field, kicking in behind them, making those big guys turn and chase after the ball. Yes, it was a little bit easier for them because Connacht kind of imploded, but they did what they needed to do, and that kind of galvanizing like that and becoming a team like that could be the kind of thing that now spurs them on to go on and lift the trophy as well. So fantastic win for them, full credit for the win. And I think in terms of just the performance of the two teams, Connacht fantastic in the first kind of 15 or 20 minutes of the game, but for the rest of the game, Racing were on top. And honestly, I was cheering for Connacht to win, obviously, but I still feel it would have been a travesty had Racing lost that game because of what they'd done in the final 60 minutes of the game. They faced, as I said, so much adversity, but they turned it around and come up with a fantastic performance. I think they're deserved through to the next round now. So fantastic for them. But let me know what you think down in the comments.